So thank you all for joining our WWW Wednesday Webhooks walkthrough webinar. It's a tongue twister. I challenge you all to say that 5 times fast. But thanks for joining. We're going to be going through webhooks, different ways that you can utilize them, and then at the end, of course, be able to answer any questions that may come up during the course here. So as far as our agenda today, we'll be looking at just the basics of what a webhook is. We'll take a look at the event guide and some different categorizations, different opportunities to utilize those webhooks. We'll take a look at different ways that you can utilize webhooks and how to set them. So there's especially, spoiler alert, dealing with the custom delivery wizard gives you a lot of options of pushing that information. Then we'll go through my top 5 favorite webhooks, some of them going all the way back to when I had a lead business and was a client of boberdoo. Then finally, we'll talk about some tips and tricks. We are doing a redesign of this webhooks, something sorely needed. So we're going to be looking for your feedback or suggestions as well. Then finally, we'll end up with the Q&A. So we'll be going into the system to look for most of it. We won't just be staring at this slideshow here, but basically webhooks are trigger-based events. So when a transaction or something happens in the lead system, webhooks are a way to communicate or to push that event or information about that event to the outside world. Big opportunity with webhooks, especially when you look at partner account management, is the ability to scale without adding account managers, sales reps, because you can utilize those webhooks when those different events occur to email the partners directly and not require an individual person to necessarily reach out. So we're going to jump into the event guide first here. The basic categories of the events are account management. Those are the ones I just previously mentioned here, primarily dealing with communications to partners. There is also admin. Those are going to be notifications to our clients. Billing, so these are going to be related to payments, successes, failures. And then something relatively new, but is a lot of focus, is disposition. So the Boberdoo system is a place that you can have your partners disposition the leads. And then in many cases, you can push that disposition upstream to your vendors to help share that. Then we have errors, pretty self-explanatory there. Certainly a lot of opportunities for those to occur. So lead processing related webhooks, kind of brought out phone routing in its own category as well. And then finally, refunds. So refunds for requests, decisions, and then again, trying to push that upstream to your vendors. So if we hop in, we'll be sharing these links. We have a couple of good resources on our website related to webhooks. And then we do have an event guide here that goes through all of the different trigger-based events, gives a brief definition of them. I've kind of aggregated them into a spreadsheet here just to kind of do more of a scroll so you can kind of see them in one. We have about 140 different webhook events, and they are ones that we do add to clients fairly frequently. In some cases, we can see where we might actually learn from repeated or similar requests from our clients. So if we sort these by category, all of this first bunch here, the first 60 or so relate to that account management, dealing with the partners. So things like status change, days without leads. This is a big one. Changes in statuses, limits being reached all across the board at the partner level, at the filter set level. And those are good for upsell opportunities. You're either sending that to a sales rep so that they can reach out, or directly to those partners. Hey, you've hit your limit for the day. Consider logging into your partner account and increasing those limits. So all of these relate to different limits, whether that's 80%, 90%, and obviously we have clients that want them to be able to get ahead of the game and never have that gap in limits. Filter sets changes can help with communicating that to campaigns or vendors in some cases. And then we have kind of the same thing, but related to budget. So just like the quantity limits, there are budgets that can be configured or built into your lead system, and you can have those webhooks for those. The next kind of batch that we have are admin related. So things like account logins blocked. If you do create multiple logins, this is a great one, and it works for other admin users, sales reps, vendors, or partners. So these are going to be those kind of system types of things that will occur, not the least of which is our ticketing system. So those webhooks are automatically built into your system so that you receive those, but that's essentially how our control panel communicates tickets, is essentially through these webhook events. Next, we have billing. So most of our clients use the lead system to handle the billing. And if you are working with partners and not just, let's say, monthly invoicing, these webhooks can either help with your accounts receivable person and communicating, or directly to those partners on things like payment and account success to essentially serve as a receipt. Something is relatively new, as we mentioned, is disposition. So if somebody dispositions a lead in your system, that can then be a trigger to update some other outside party or reporting suite. Error is pretty self-explanatory there. Those are things that should have happened but did not. Next up, we have our processing. So this is where we're going to get things like what happened on the lead, whether it was rejected by outside service or a lead matched versus unmatched. And then you can communicate different messages based off of the result of that lead. So a new lead matched may be something that is as simple as just sending the lead an email, but it may have other things that you want to push out, maybe pushing that lead to an email service for a drip marketing campaign or something like that. Phone routing, all of these relate just to that, just routing calls, missed calls being kind of the big one in there. There's not really an opportunity for reprocessing leads, so if you do have partners that are missing calls, it's good to jump on that sooner rather than later. And then refunds, very similar to payments. Refunds can be used to communicate approval or denials, essentially serving as receipts, but then you can also push that information back to vendors as well. So we're going to jump to the sending guide next. There are several ways that you can send it, from a simple email to utilizing Slack and the custom delivery wizard. So I'm going to hop into Home Model, our demo system, go into our webhooks. And so typically it doesn't really matter what the event is. there's going to be these options for sending. So an email is pretty self-explanatory. This is what you want to send. You really only have to input the subject line. Excuse me. Everything else will use the system defaults. But we do have clients that send emails on behalf of their partners, for example, and custom SMTP credentials can be plugged in. Essentially, this allows you to send an email. You can choose the different groups. So you can apply things to an entire group or to specific user groups, sales reps, admin users, or even the lead themselves. FTP not used too much anymore, but essentially you can do just this. When this webhook event occurs, you can push that to any FTP or SFTP host, typically utilizing these magic strings that we'll jump into in a little bit more detail here. Also, older way of sending the webhooks would be through a simple post or get. In this case here is really, when you're looking at like a very basic post out, they are becoming less and less common. But if it was something like a Zapier route or something like that, you could set it up right here and not have to go through the custom delivery wizard. But you're going to have less options here. So I was told to gloss over this pretty quickly. We hope not too many people are using this anymore. If you do have a SOAP option, our recommendation would be to use the custom delivery wizard. And so if we go to the last option of function here, we have the custom delivery. What this does is it looks and applies the custom delivery ID that you enter here. And that gives you the flexibility of using the full custom delivery wizard to build out the API call. And so if there's OAuth or if there's any of those types of processes that need to be in place, that can be set up as the webhook and then simply apply the ID here. Essentially makes this just like a custom delivery. So if you don't have the time or inclination to build them, you can put in tickets for Boberdoo can build these and help you apply them to the webhooks. And then the last option in terms of the delivery method is a Slack webhook. So simply grabbing the channel URL from Slack and putting it in here, and then using the magic strings for your message, you can then push that to the different groups. This helps a lot with not only account management, but things like errors. And that way, you're not putting the responsibility of monitoring onto just one person. Okay. So next up, we're going to go to my top 5. We'll kind of look at those in the home model lead system. So first one being active brokers, X days without leads. That happens to be the one that I am on right now. This is really nice because especially if you're signing up people or have a self sign up, they may come on board and get live, and then it's a manual process to monitor whether they're getting leads, especially if they're in a fairly narrow geo area. In this case, you can set some amount, and then whether you're notifying the sales rep or an admin, this is typically an internal notification, but it gives you the ability, hey, this person hasn't gotten leads in 5 days. I need to jump in there and take a look at the account. Is there not enough leads coming in? Is it really restrictive geos, or is there a problem with that setup? So it's a good way of jumping on things before they get out, and that partner reaches out that says, I haven't gotten a lead in 2 weeks. I want my money. Next one is one we touched on already. CRM status equals close. So there's some here just for notes, or if any status of that CRM changes. But in this case, this can help with communications to your vendors. So feedback is something everybody wants, but it's pretty hard to get. And so the more that you're able to share that with your vendors, the better they can refine their traffic to get you those quality leads. And I do think that there is a little bit of a snowball effect here once it gets a little bit more, the partners start to update them more, the opportunities to share that upstream will be great. Next one is the daily limit reach, 90%, whether that's the filter set level or the account level, really depends on your operations. But the 90% or 85%, whatever that number is, it gives them a little bit of time to log into their partner account and make any adjustments, or to reply to the email, hey, I need more leads today. Can you raise my limit, if it is something that you manage their filter sets on the partner's behalf. So it's a good way to avoid the dreaded unmatched or gaps in demand. Similar, another account management one is the low account balance. So this works regardless of, even if you're giving credit, or if you're doing allowing them to log in, fund their own account, but then also with regards to your marketing partners, or if it's specific types of partners, maybe you have an anchor partner. When their account balance is getting low, that might significantly affect your lead flow or your ability to buy leads. So having that, once that trigger is hit, it just gives you some time to deal with. So that is tied specifically to the credit limit warning level notification at the invoicing billing tab. And so you can set that custom per partner and then apply this webhook generally. So you have a lot of flexibility of setting those according to whatever the partner. Next up, we have new lead match. That is when a lead comes into your system and matches to a partner. This is really used for not just communications or emails to many cases. Hey, here's a lead, an email to the lead that says here were your dynamic matching partners, any other information that you would want to include there. So that's a very common use case. We have also clients that want to post certain parts of a lead that matched to an outside database of sorts. Maybe you're sending an email, a drip email campaign or a drip SMS message campaign. You can use this match lead webhook to then and use the custom delivery or a get post to push that data into those other types of campaigns. And then finally, we all love money, right? So payment on the account This can serve as a receipt if you are working with um, credit cards, right? So you can formulate this email to go to the partner and essentially function as your emailed receipt. And then also for, sales reps or admins for things like commission reports, if that's being done outside of the system. And then also for obvious demand there. Okay. So on to some tips and tricks for using webhooks. The first is rules. So if we look in the webhooks, manage webhooks page on the far right here, we have the ability, you can copy it, edit it. We can see the history, make it active, not active. But then there are some events that have the ability to have rules applied to them, and others that do not. So an active login blocked, for example, doesn't have a rule, whereas if we look at daily limit reach, for example, does have rules that can be applied. So if we look here, we can see these are based on partners and partner labels. So this is something you could apply daily limit reached only for a specific partner or maybe a specific type of. Now if we go back down to that new lead matched, we'll see there's a whole host of other rules. You can build them based on partners, based on sources, based on lead type. And then there's also things like time rules that you can put in place so that the, let's say, email is only sent if it's between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Typically, that is going to be used in some sort of real-time communication. Next up, magic strings. So as we've been clicking through here, another thing that is unique to the actual event are the magic strings that are available. So each event has their own legend on the right here that you can use in the email or in the post. And then the question marks will go through more specific usage examples. So you can see here, and the important thing for these dynamic ones is that there is an open and a close for what you want to display in the middle. So if we look at this email example, instead of using all of the fields, we have it opened and closed and are only including name, company, phone, email, and website. Monetize unmatched leads. This is something that may change with one-to-one consent. However, as it currently stands, if you have a lead that is unmatched, the partner information obviously isn't going to be in here, but this may give you the ability to either offer an alternative or a click offer or something else on that the body of the email. You know the lead is not matched in your system, and you can then maybe try to monetize it through some cross offer or some related offer. Now with that, of course, it's going to depend on where the lead is coming from. You wouldn't want to do that on an unmatched lead for a ping post use case, but you would want to do it on one that you generated off your own landing page. And so then that would be another example. You certainly would want to apply source rules and so that it's not every lead that's unmatched, but only the ones that are specific to either your internal campaigns or direct posts that you get. So a lot of our clients have sign up pages so that they can send a link. Typical flow might be you send them the DocuSign, they sign it, your automated email says go here and create an account. That can often be done through, I hope I enabled it, through a sign up page here. And so how that relates to webhooks is there is a new sign up webhook. And so this can be used, one, to notify sales reps and admins so that a new partner has signed up. You can go and check out the account. But it can also serve as a really good next steps. You've completed the sign up process. We have built your filter sets and we're doing our due diligence on our end to make sure you're a legitimate company. And so here are the next steps, or here's our billing policy, here's our refund policy. It's a good opportunity to communicate those types of things. And then lastly, so we have some clients that have outside reporting suites, and so in many cases they're using timed reports to push that data maybe once an hour or something like that. Other clients have APIs that they're using to call, so they can make that API call whenever they want. And then still other clients that have a views-only access directly to the database. But then we also have clients that have kind of built an accumulation of their own reporting suite. And so all of the transaction events that we just went through, they wanted to essentially recreate. All right, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover here today.